So in the first world, they have something called self-checkout that might either be something completely foreign to you, like my South African family and friends, or something that is just normal. For me, 4 years ago, this was the first time that I'd come across this. I had only ever bought things and then had a cashier or a teller, whatever, help me scan the things and then I paid them. I had a human interaction when I went to the grocery store. I came here to the Netherlands and I had that same human interaction because that's all I knew. I didn't know how to do self-checkouts. So I was a bit scared of them. So I went to the human. But then I realized not being able to speak Dutch, it was actually a very difficult interaction. And they're just really quick at doing it. And it became the most stressful part of grocery shopping. So I went to the self-checkout. And I've never been back to a person since. Now, if you ask me, well, why do I still do it? I would say, yeah, because it's faster. But deep down, I think the reason is the fact that I'm scared of people and the interaction of actually going to a person. And I think that this is detrimental. Let me explain. And it seems like I'm not the only one. NCR Voix surveyed American shoppers in 2025 and found that 45% of them now prefer self-checkout overall. And among that group, 77% of people say it's because of speed. So millions of people are making the same choice that I'm making when I go to the grocery store for kind of the same version or same reason why I gave it to myself. Speed. It's easier and you get to avoid a moment with a stranger. And when you phrase it like that, you don't really give it a second thought. It's kind of just the obvious choice. Get in, get out. So it turns out that it's not just the foreigners in the Netherlands like me who are scared of the cashier interactions. And this means that there's something a little bit bigger here. So I want to figure out what was it costing me by going to the self-checkout versus going to the human cashiers. Because I've now lived in the Netherlands for 4 years. I know I'm a terrible person. I still don't speak good enough Dutch to go to the cashier. It is what it is. But I've got this hypothesis that because I've lived in a third world country, South Africa, and I've lived in a first world country, Netherlands, there's a little bit of something that I'm seeing here. Correlation doesn't always mean causation, but I'm going to chat about it. So, in 2014, two psychologists from the University of British Columbia tested this thing exactly. They recruited 60 people in front of a Starbucks and gave them a gift card. Some were told, go have a genuine interaction with the cashier. Smile, make eye contact, have a brief, normal human conversation with them. Others were told, make this as efficient as possible. Have the money ready and have no unnecessary discussion between you two. And it turns out that the people that had the small interaction with the cashier actually came out happier. They reported lower negative mood and higher satisfaction with the entire experience. The researchers traced back this boost in just feeling a little bit better about yourself and the experience to one specific thing. And it was a greater sense of belonging. And I've spoken a little bit about this before, but there is a name for the relationship that we have to, say, cashiers. And it's called weak ties. They're not constituted as friends or acquaintances or family, that's extreme, but weak ties. Kind of like people that you see or interact with for 30 seconds, and chances of you actually seeing them again are quite slim. But even if it's just 30 seconds, they do something inside us because humans are innately social beings. That's how we learned how to survive. And back in the Khoisan era, you couldn't survive alone, so you needed other people. And thus, an efficient transaction removes that little bit of connection that our body just likes. Those same researchers that did that Starbucks study, did a little bit more research and found out why people skip the cashier interaction and rather go for the efficiency option. And their conclusion was that people were thinking about their to-do lists, not the person serving them. So their mind was elsewhere. They had so much shit going on that they needed to like go sort that out in their head. That this was just a minor inconvenience just to get the coffee and leave. And because they were so in their head about all the stuff they had to do, they never really got to the point of actually having a conversation with the cashier. And maybe because they didn't even register that there was the ability to have one. I know that sounds crazy to say because you're like, oh, humans can always talk to each other. But the Netherlands, I found, live in such an efficient world that talking to someone, it feels like you're taking their time and you don't want to waste their time. So you're like, okay, I won't do it. Thank you. Goodbye, whatever. And I'm obviously having a blanket statement here. This is not everyone, not everything. This is just a lot of my experience is that I don't want to waste other people's time. Even if I would love to just have a quick chat with you, 30 seconds. I'm like, they've got their stuff to do. They won't appreciate it if I do it. Therefore, I'm going to be considerate. That type of mindset. So I'm going to show you the inside of a train station here in Delft and notice how quiet it is and how many people are not actually talking to each other. I find it quite fascinating. Okay, as many of you know, I'm from South Africa. So in South Africa, it's kind of default that you greet the cashier or even the person standing next to you in the queue. It's hello, how are you? And you don't mean it on the deep level, like internally, like how are you doing in life? It's more just how the greeting goes. And it's a way in, it's a way to connect. And it's not like you're actively deciding, oh, I want to connect with that person. It's just how it's done. I don't know how else to explain it. If you just went in there, hello, here's my stuff, people would think that you're rude. So I left a country where greeting a stranger was the default. And I landed up in one where kind of avoiding a stranger is the default. And I don't mean it in a terrible way, but it is my lived experience. Because I don't have to actively decide to talk to random people. I can just ignore them and go about my day. And that's not considered rude in any way. It's the norm. And I'm not trying to say one country is better than another country because South Africa has its major problems. And the problems have nothing to do with checkout machines. I'm just kind of saying I didn't notice that default until I came to a contrasting place where it's very different. And I just, again, my anecdotal experience, I feel like this type of default of not talking to people, not addressing people, not getting in each other's business is a little bit of a factor that's causing this disconnect, this loneliness feeling. And the Dutch have kind of noticed that. There's even self-checkout lines for lonely people, so that it says we can take longer and we will talk to you, because they noticed that a lot of lonely people weren't getting human contact in daily life things. And now they have like over 200 of them. They started as an experiment and it seems that people are enjoying them. I don't know if there's a correlation between first world and third world, and the more first world South Africa becomes, the more we'll lose this defaulting connection to strangers. I'm not sure, but I guess only time will tell, really. So the Dutch speak about the loneliness epidemic quite a bit. It's actually a big problem for them. And me, as someone who's lived in two very different sections of the world, it's very easy to see the difference between an individualistic society and then more of a communal society. And I think as economies rise and countries become more, I don't know, I'm going to use the word first world because there's a lot of money and everything else involved. But when they do that, people are able to look after themselves by themselves. And that's something that the Dutch do very, very well here. People will look after themselves and make sure that they're okay. So you don't have to have all your tax money going into helping other people. So in essence, that is a good thing. However, they've become so lost in this individualism, and to break out of that is really difficult. And I can see why it has led to being like, or being so concerned about human connection, because they've kind of made everything so efficient. And I know I harp on this a lot, and I think it's because it's my lived experience, but I truly miss just chatting to a random stranger. And yes, you can make comments that, yeah, you know what, I don't speak Dutch and all this kind of stuff, and integration is hard and all this. Fair, all fair points, and I know that I have a problem with that, and I should do better with that. It's just, yeah, it's like so efficient that we've lost the humanness. And I go back to South Africa and I have a random conversation with someone on the street just about random stuff, and you know how it just makes my, like, I even want to cry. It just makes my body just like so, it just feels so nice. And I'm really sad that people don't get to experience that here as much as I would like them to, because it's such a beautiful thing. And I think efficiency tools like checkout machines are causing, I think, more problems than they're actually solving. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I film these still every single day, and this week I guess I'm just relaying a lot of my experiences. Maybe I'm also feeling a little bit homesick. I don't know. Anyway, this is not to speak negatively of the Netherlands. They've got some great stuff going, and South Africa, you have your problems too. This is just one of my lived experiences. Anyway, I'll check you guys on the next one. No.